All right, let's dive into this, dude. All right, we're going to start, of course, at quarterback, Stank. So, who is the best quarterback in Buccaneers history? I'm curious what you think because you're old, okay? So you got the Doug Williams knowledge. You saw Doug Williams play. You even saw Testaverde play, who I don't think should be on this list. But you do have a special spot in your heart for that man. I saw you meet him for I don't know, maybe the third or fourth time in your life. But I saw it happen on that golf course. You were crying as a grown man on his shoulder. Also, he's a fucking huge human being, by the way. But also, if anyone who follows Stank on Twitter, which you absolutely should because it's nonsense, you have that amazing, just legendary photo of you as a 12-year-old lesbian child with that shirt on that had the cartoon Vinny Testaverde on it. And it's just amazing. So I'm going to let you start us off with who were the best quarterbacks in Bucs history. I think you're going to say Doug Williams, but I'll let you go from here.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to pick the two Super Bowl quarterbacks. Obviously, people are going to be like, how could you ever leave Tom Brady off the list? He's not on my list. All right.
He's not on mine either. Not on mine either. Not here long enough. Sorry.
He wasn't here long enough. Appreciate your service. Appreciate the ring. Appreciate all those things. I can't get mad at people for putting Tom Brady on the list. It feels weird to not have Tom Brady on the list when he played for your franchise. But if I'm putting a top 50 together, it's guys who I recognize as Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. And even though Doug Williams won a Super Bowl with another team because we had a fat piece of shit, racist, just absolutely one of the worst human being owners ever that brought this beautiful franchise to our city. Doug's on my list. I wouldn't be a Bucs fan without Doug Williams. I've told this story in the podcast before, but he's the reason I'm a fan. Him and my dad did business. My dad had a little luggage store in Tampa Bay Mall when I was a child, and my dad and him did business together.
Were you guys gypsies?
We did, bro. We did business, and
it's typically a gypsy business.
I do.
What you just described.
I mean,
did you guys have a wagon with a bunch of trinkets hanging off of it?
No, it was very fine leather goods that we imported from all over the world, mostly through New York. And Doug liked my dad's stuff. So me and Doug hung out. We went to at the time, there was no food court, but probably Villa Pizza. And I didn't even know what football was. I was just a little fat mulleted kid. I had no clue who I was hanging out with. Come to find out, he was quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Doug is my guy. Doug's the reason I'm a Buck. And so Doug is the number one quarterback on my list for very personal reasons. And I feel like, had history treated him better, had our franchise done him right, he played his whole career here. We would have had our first franchise quarterback out the box and maybe even won more than maybe won a Super Bowl with the guy. Who knows? Maybe. History would be completely different.
So I'm with you. I can't put Tom Brady on this list. Tom Brady did most of his damage in his career as a Patriot. It was amazing for those 2 years here. The third year, I'm going to choose to forget that year because that was not real. That was not the real Tom Brady. Physically, mentally, emotionally, I mean, all of it. It just didn't feel like Tom Brady. So he only played for 2.5 years in my mind. So that's not long enough to qualify. Sure, he won a Super Bowl. Could have gone back to back had it been a couple of plays and maybe one guy running off the field, in New York, different. But I can't put Tom Brady on the list. But the next one is kind of controversial, so I got to walk you through this, Stank. What do you think? What do you think about Jameis? I'm not putting him on. What do you think about Jameis Winston? Because we got to pick two quarterbacks for this list to fully, fill out a 50 players. So 2 quarterback spots. I agree with Doug Williams. It's got to be on there. But who's the other guy? Is it Jameis Winston? He did break and set a lot of records before Tom Brady got here. Of course, he had that crazy 30-30 year. But if you really take a step back, he was the closest thing to a possible franchise quarterback that we've seen in a very, very long time, probably since Doug Williams.
Another guy, statistically the leader, right? In yards and touchdowns and pretty much every quarterback statistic that this franchise has. Mm-hmm. You could argue that Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with Jameis Winston's football team. So, I heard people make the argument he deserves a ring too. If you're one of those that thinks that, maybe you think that Jameis deserves to be on the list. It would be hard for me to argue he doesn't deserve to be on the list. It was a
up and down,
a tumultuous relationship. It was abusive. It was abusive. I mean, that's really the only true way to describe the Jameis Winston era. I loved him, but he hurt me, but I loved him for it in a weird way, and I believed he could be, the one, and he would hurt me, and he hurt. I'm still hurt by him today, and I still love him. It's so weird. Still love the guy, and I'm a Gator.
I'm a Florida State guy, so you know how much I love him regardless. But see, the thing is, I really want to put Baker as that number 2 Buck quarterback of all time, but he's only been here 2 years, right? But I have a feeling if we do this conversation and say 5 years from now, he makes the list, right? Yeah, but I can't put him on there because he's only been here for 2 years. So I feel like he's maybe a pencil in guy later on. But if it's not Jameis Winston underneath Doug Williams, who is it, Stank? And we can't put Tom in there. I put a guy on the list. I mean, you're taking Doug as well? So we agree Doug deserves to be Doug, but who's going to be our second greatest Buck quarterback?
Friend of the program.
Brad Johnson.
I mean, we slaughtered the 10,000 pound gorilla, man.
Yeah.
We got over the hill. Yeah, he had one of the greatest defenses of all time supporting him. But
I mean, he scored hella points in the playoffs, man.
He did. He was the right guy at the right time with the right type of attitude. Also another Florida State guy, oddly enough. Just a basketball wizard. Don't play that guy on a horse. You will lose your pants, your money, your pension. You probably end up out there homeless on the street.
So, Stank, if you remember, do you remember when they signed him? And there was I remember feeling a calmness. Like when we had an offensive possession, I was always pretty fucking nervous because I was waiting for the interception, that other foot to fall, the other shoe to fall every single possession. We went through the Trent Dilfer years. We had Sean King there for a little bit. It didn't feel right. And then Brad Johnson got here, and it felt like we finally had a captain on our ship, right? We weren't just out there in the middle of the sea just floating around on offense.
What do you mean? Rob Johnson didn't make you feel comfortable?
Nah. So that's the thing. When they brought Gruden in, first thing he does is go and get Rob Johnson because Rob Johnson could use his legs, and he's got an obsession with quarterbacks who could run back then. And he tried his hardest to give Rob Johnson every opportunity to take that job from Brad. And Brad's like, nah, I'm just steady Eddie. Back then, I believe Brad Johnson was the NFL leader in percentage, in completion percentage back then, right? And this was before the offenses of today, right? So, I mean, I could easily agree with you to put Brad Johnson in there right under Doug Williams because I really don't know who else. Can't put Trent Dilfer in there. Can't put Chris Sims in there. He's been a fucking piece of shit ever since he left here. Who else? I mean, Sean King, no offense.
You can't put the statistical guys on there. I mean, Testaverde's up there. Fucking Trent
Jeff Garcia
on there. Jeff Garcia. No, Jeff was fun to watch. Jeff would thrive in today's NFL.
Yeah, maybe now.
He would. He was a throwback. If you go back and look at Jeff Garcia's tape, especially in San Francisco, and then eventually, here when he kind of played it out, one of the most weird humans ever. If you look at him, it kind of looks like a burn victim in a weird way. Smoking hot wife. It was odd. The whole Jeff Garcia era was odd, but the kid could sling it. He had that moxie, that swagger. He had everything you need. Really mobile quarterback.
Doesn't belong on this list, though.
No, it doesn't belong on the list at all.
What about Josh Freeman? Does he enter this discussion? I don't think he does. I had hope for him. I'm just going through the quarterbacks. Really didn't have. It's such a shitty fucking history here.
Such a shitty list. Really is.
And it feels like Brad Johnson just kind of makes it by default. No offense to Brad Johnson, but he did win a Super Bowl. He did finally beat the Eagles in the playoffs. And he looked fucking phenomenal against the Raiders. He was great that entire playoff run, honestly. And then I remember the year after that, he also fucking played pretty damn well. But again, not crazy numbers statistically. Wasn't, in the MVP conversation. I feel like it's Brad Johnson right under Doug Williams, and it's a pretty big gap.
If you're going to do it based on numbers, it's Jameis. It's Doug and Jameis. If you're going to put two guys, and if you want to do it based on credentials, it's Brad and Tom. So you could argue for all four of them being on there. I'd love to know. Oh, Bantry says Blaine Gabbert. It's funny because when I was talking about Brad Johnson, Brad and Blaine were the same guy to me. Good hair, really good hair, right? Kind of had that fucking old 80s kind of just handsome kind of look to them. It's not worth a damn as far as a NFL football player. But yeah. Anyways, I don't know. I'm going to go with yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's go Doug Williams and Brad Johnson. I think the ring has to have some sort of weight to it. It just has to. It has to garner the respect there to just barely squeaking by Jameis. It just has to, man. And you can't do it any other way. I know what Jameis did is pretty crazy in terms of if you look back in the record books, at $1. But Brad Johnson got a Super Bowl. It's got to mean something, right? And so
I'm curious right now in the chat and those who are watching the recorded and those who are listening in their trucks and those people out there on the ocean, on those oil tankers going across the ocean right now, listening to this show. Those of you who are up in the mountains,
huge segment of our viewership are out there on oil rigs.
Those are you who are getting service on Elon's satellites, wherever you are on this planet. Antarctica, where I think at one point we were the biggest show in Antarctica, and there's no reason we shouldn't be now. I want to hear from you guys. Your top 2 quarterbacks are going to make a difference here on this top 50 list. So let us know. I'm curious because this is really a controversial one. There's no slam dunks here. Really, you could pick a combination of those 4 guys, and I don't think you'd be wrong.
All right, Stank. So how about somebody drops?
Hold on. I want to hear from the fucking hairless intern. Who are your top 2? Who are your top 2?
Top 2 for me, Brad Johnson would be on the list for sure. I grew up when he was playing. I grew up when him, Jeff Garcia, Jameis.
It looks like you're still growing up.
Testaverde. So I've seen my fair share of the quarterbacks, but Brad Johnson is definitely on the list.
Let's go.
Garcia. It would be between Garcia and Jameis for that second spot, to be honest.
I love it. You put Garcia on the list before Tom. I like it.
Yeah.
I
mean, anytime we can hate on Tom Brady, if it just feels right. I don't know why. It just does. And I'm a big Tom Brady guy. Even before he became a Buck, I was a huge Tom Brady fan. So it just, somebody in the chat says Jameis and Brad Johnson. I guess there's no respect there for Doug Williams. But
that might not be. I mean, Navaj, maybe he was born in the 90s. He doesn't know anything about Doug Williams.
If we ask him who his top 50 nose cleaning solutions would be, I mean, it'd be pretty good answer.
I feel like the people who subscribe to this podcast and watch it, there's a lot of anti-Brady fans here. I think that you come here to find your clan, and that's us. I didn't like Tom before he got here, and I still don't really like him, but I love him, for doing what he did. I mean, how can you not? I mean,
you gave up sex for a whole year, Stank. So.
I gave up sex for the guy.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Here's my thing. I think the actual answer is going to end up being Baker Mayfield right there next to Doug Williams. So.